more about younger kids, but older kids also have their own set of fears. You know, if they listen to the news with you or without you, then they're hearing things that they may or may not know how to process. You may encourage a discussion time, maybe at dinner, just, what did you learn today? Or was there anything that you wanted to ask a question about? Children hear words and they don't always know what they mean, but they can tell from the announcer's face on the news that that's a serious, worrisome kind of fact. So if you have that open dialogue, the same one you talked about when discussing sex, then kids are more likely to come and say, my friend talked about 9/11 and I don't really know what it is. You just don't know what they're processing in the course of their day. So you want to stay open and say, you can ask me questions. I will help you understand.
Yeah. So another part of this question is, this child may be self-conscious of her weight. So I think one thing very, very, very practical thing to think about is if weight may be a problem, that you may want to actually take this child to her pediatrician to kind of find out if there really is something going on. Because if there is, there are small changes that can be made in this child's lifestyle to maybe help her to get into a little more shape that could, one, help her health, both today and long term, can teach her good eating and exercise habits, but can also make her feel less self-conscious about her weight, if it's truly a problem.
You might also want to clarify if somebody said something to her or to him that had to do with their body. And kids can be mean to each other. You never know when people use a word that hurts. And so someone may have said it just because it was a mean word and they knew that. And then you can clarify, what does that mean? And that's a really good idea. The next time they're at the doctor, they could even discuss that your child is average weight or is eating a healthy diet, so you have confirmation from an expert that they're in good shape.
Yep. Also, depending on the age of this child, as kids begin to go through puberty, they can have all different kinds of body shapes and sizes. So it's so important to remind a child, you are, well, I'm not sure you want to get into this exact topic unless they bring it up, but you're beginning a time in your life when your body is going to be going through some very natural changes, and your body's going to look like this, and her body will look like that, and when I was your age, my body looked like this. So just a reminder that there's such a variety out there of what a girl's body looks like in the 7 to 12-year-old and even older age range, which I think will help her feel much more normal. There's not one body type for any female on the planet. And there's lots of pictures, actually, and even books, magazines, etc., that talk about body image and body type for girls, especially as they're entering puberty and teenage years, when the insecurity can kind of start to set in. So again, I can also send some recommendations along. Let's see.
We've gotten some good questions coming in as
well.
So yes, I'll try to read them. Pardon me for turning to the side to read. So the parent sent in a question or a comment. A specific issue is getting ready in the morning. I'm sure if we told you how many times we had that issue, we'd be exaggerating, not too much. Would a checklist or chart in the morning be helpful with rewards, perhaps? Good question. Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I think for some children, a checklist is wonderful. So one positive thing it can do is, if the child, well, first of all, if you do a checklist, I'd have the child come up with it themselves. So get out some paper, maybe even their favorite marker, and they can write each task, if you will, that they know that they have to walk through in the morning time. So one, they own the process because they're making the list. Number two, it reduces the number of times each morning that you sound like a nag, to be completely frank. Because if you're saying, have you brushed your teeth, put on your shoes, you have your lunch, you have your backpack, that's 5 or 6 times when you're kind of being a little annoying to the child, which may make them go a little slower or may make them stressed out. Versus if you have one chart, all you have to do is say, hey, how's your morning chart going? And then that's a key to them to go back and look at the chart and see where they are in the process. So it's both a reliever for you and also helps to empower them. Different families have different viewpoints about rewards if they fulfill their chart every morning. It's really up to kind of you and your family to decide that. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think what's more important, though, is having the child own this chart by creating it. And then also you stepping back and not not asking every morning about each item on the chart, but just asking in general, how's your morning chart going, or how's your morning routine going? You may want to do something in the beginning after a week if they're successful at meeting the requirements on their morning chart, that they get to, I don't know, go to the store and pick out a little toy or something, or they get to go have lunch with you at their favorite restaurant. So there are some things you can do, but again, not every family likes to attach rewards to charts, so that's really up to you.
One thing I found that's helpful in the morning is, well, two things. One is if your child is just a slow moving kid in the morning, and many of us can relate to that, that you do start getting him or her up a little bit earlier. It makes life less tense when there's more time just to dream for a few minutes, slowly wake up, and then get started. Another thing that I have seen work well with kids is if they have a certain time limit. Let's say they have 4 things they have to do before coming down for breakfast or coming to breakfast. That might include getting dressed, putting shoes on, bringing backpack to the door. If those 4 things are done in a certain time frame, then that's another way, once the kids have really shown the individual steps that they've accomplished. But let's say you give them 10 minutes to get to breakfast, and then they slowly work towards beating their own time. So if they came for a week, they were able to do that in 10 minutes, but anytime they're able to get it all done in less than 10 minutes, if you're using a point system or a sticker system or just a pat on the back system, getting done a little bit earlier actually is a positive behavior. And I found that kids are more focused when they're trying to meet a time limit.
Plus, a lot of kids like the idea of it being kind of a game or a competition, and so they kind of enjoy, oh, can I do 9 minutes today or 8 minutes today? Another thing to think about is I'm a big believer in preparing as much you can the night before. So, for example, if you can have your kid's backpack completely ready to go the night before, even sitting by the door, that is one less thing to have to kind of worry about in the morning. If they can pick out their clothes, maybe some families will have the child make their own lunch. Whatever you can do the night before, even frankly getting some of your own stuff ready the night before, because a lot of times parents, of course, they have to worry about getting themselves out plus the child. If you can have your purse or your backpack or your briefcase prepped up the night before as well, like right by the front door, that can reduce your stress in the morning as well. Plus, it shows good modeling for your child that, look, mom and dad are trying to be organized as well, or grandma or aunt, whoever's in the home.
Yeah. And when you look at some of the things that kids are learning in Montessori, they can easily use a pitcher. They can be pouring their own cereal. They can be pouring their own milk. That helps as well. They can even prepare their bowl of cereal the night before, cover it up with some plastic wrap, and then be ready in the morning to eat right away.